Hello beautiful people and welcome to my channel. My name is Aminah, and if you're new here, on my channel I talk about my journey as a solo black woman traveling, well right now I'm just moving outside the United States and all that comes with it, along with sometimes some budgeting and hair things as well. This specific video I'll be talking about what it was like for me making a decision to leave the United States, that whole journey, and also just some story time of all the time leading up to now. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel if you're ever wondering on what it's like to live abroad, traveling right now during COVID-19, and just other things even about living in Manta, Ecuador. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I have a list of like points I want to go over. If I don't kind of control it, I'll take forever with this story. But I want to give you guys as much information as I can of just the story, but also stay on task. So for anyone that doesn't know, I actually had the plan to move out of the move to Thailand and or Southeast Asia last year. So a little bit of backstory. I studied abroad last summer in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Moment of silence. My heart's, I'm pretty sure there's still like a part of my heart that's still in Thailand. But to say the least, I thoroughly enjoyed my time studying abroad in Thailand. I loved it. I was there for 3 months. I had the time of my life. And that was also the first time I had ever left the country. It was for that trip that I got my passport. At the first time I've like everything. It was a lot of firsts for me. So that was big. And I had a great experience. So for the longest time, I didn't even know like what it was like to live outside the country, travel, anything like that. And then that experience just opened my eyes to a lot of things I had never been exposed to. So fast forward to about the fall, and it was my senior year of college, and I decided that I wanted to at least take a year off of school. At the time I was planning on going to law school, but that's a whole nother story. But I decided that I wanted to move to either Thailand, and I was also looking to other places just in Southeast Asia. And I would say this was about December of 2019. So from December on, I was planning, I was searching, I was networking, looking at jobs. I was looking at countries. I was looking at the Philippines. I was looking at Vietnam. Mostly looking at Thailand because that's what I was familiar with, but I was also open to new places and different things like that. And yeah, so I was really trying to figure out how to execute it. My plan was to leave when my lease ended in that following, the March of 2020. I was gonna just go on a plane and just go for it. So fast forward to March, AKA when COVID hit. And I guess to say, COVID hit my life hard. And I know it hit everyone's lives hard, but at the time it was a lot. During that time, for a big chunk of quarantine, I was by myself, I was living alone. Also in the process of trying to graduate from college. So with all of that, and I was scared to go to the grocery store. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to do. It was rough, to say the least. But I was also in senior mode. So I was like, I need to graduate from college. Like this is my seniors, like this is my last semester before I graduate. So I kind of told myself, I kind of like put the whole leaving the country thing to rest. I was like, this isn't gonna happen, especially looking at how the world was locked down. It just left my mind and I just focused on graduating. So then I was finishing up my classes, trying to graduate, and also there was a looming uncertainty because I was like, everyone tells you graduating from college, one of the hardest things is finding a job after college. Like that's what they tell you, like you're gonna graduate and get this great degree and then you don't have any experience, we're not gonna hire you. Like yeah. So I was worried. So like add COVID to that where everyone's losing their jobs and all you're hearing about the unemployment rate. And I was like, how am I going to survive? So yeah, so that was also a big worry. So May happened and I graduated from college with my degrees in criminal justice and political science. So that was a but I was still looking for a job. I didn't know. I worked my job as a writing and speaking consultant up until I graduated, but then after that I was like, what next? So it was a couple weeks, and then George Floyd was murdered. So that added a whole new level to things. His murder shook my life. I was in some pretty dark. I was already in a really bad headspace just because I just graduated. My graduation was gone. You know, I hadn't seen many people in a long time just because of lockdown. Like, everything that I'd seen in my life at that time was like completely different. So I was already going through it, and that just was like, here's another thing. So, and when I say that is because George Floyd, for me, like, I'm the type, like, I was saying Black Lives Matter, like, when, like, even, like, Trayvon, like, before, when it was still controversial, like, oh, like, you couldn't say it, like, freely, and people look at you sideways for saying that. So for me, I was like, this is normal, but I don't know, seeing that video it's something snapped in my brain, and it changed me forever, honestly. Also, during that time, I started seeing a lot of people in my life's true colors. I saw people that, you know, I cared about deeply, like, speaking out about stuff and saying things that were racist. Some people were just being very, just prejudiced and things like that. And people that I truly cared about. And I'm like, it really shook my world, because everything I ever known, is, along with everything I was anticipating for, everything had changed. So it sent me to a really bad place. And I also, during that time, started learning so much. Like, one of the things I learned, I was like, this isn't, and this was like throughout the months, even till now, like, learning, like, this isn't going to be fixed from having changing policy or bans on chokeholds. Like, no, this is a systematic, like, this is built into the DNA of our country. In a lot of ways, these systems are built into us as people, whether we're whoever we are, if we're like living in America. So I did a lot of reflection, a lot of deep thought. And yeah, so fast forward a little bit, a couple weeks, I think, after that, I was hired as a COVID-19 contact tracer, which was a great opportunity. It kind of like came out of nowhere, but it was greatly needed and greatly appreciated, because I was really stressed out. I was like, I don't have a job. So, and then one day in June, I don't know what it was, but like I said, even after I got hired, I was still kind of in a weird space and trying to process everything that was happening, like one after the other. And I woke up one day in June. I should have wrote down what day it was. I think I have it in my journal somewhere. But I woke up one day and I literally was just like, you know, I think I can make this happen still. Like, I woke up and it felt weird. And I talked to like a couple friends about it. I'm like, I think I'm gonna move out the country. And they're like, okay. And I was like, yeah. So, yeah, I woke up and I was just like, I realized like this is still possible. So I started, and I mean heavy, like hours and hours of searching in Facebook groups, articles, blogs, vlogs, whatever you want to call it. I was in it, looking in to see how, because I was like, okay, if I'm going during COVID, I need to go somewhere I'm familiar with, where like I still know some people there. So Thailand was my go-to. So I looked into it. I was like, okay. And I was seeing more and more. I was like, it's pretty hard to get in Thailand right now. Okay. And I was looking into programs. I actually put down a down payment to a program. And then they're like, a week later, they're like, yeah, this isn't happening for a while. I was like, okay, give me my money back. And then getting travel insurance, like preparing in every way possible. I was like determined that I was going to Thailand. And it didn't happen. Obviously, like I wouldn't. That was stupid to say. Anyway, so after like solid, I think a month and a half, 2 months of just heavy like devoting, like if I wasn't doing something for work, or I was also studying for the LSAT at the time, it was like looking into like how to get to Thailand. And it was like end of July, beginning of August, it kind of hit me after like I was talking to a couple of people, and I was like, Thailand isn't happening. Like their borders, or like their border restrictions are strict. I don't know if that's a proper thing to say, but they're very strict. Like, so I was trying to get there and teach English, and that was not happening. I sent out, I don't even know how many applications, just it wasn't happening. So around beginning of August, when I realized it's not happening, I was like, okay, Mina, let's talk to ourselves. That's not proper English either. And I was like, is my real goal to go to Thailand, or is my real goal to leave the United States of America? And I really solidified in myself that my goal was to leave the US. So I was definitely grieving. I mean, I was so determined to get, like, y'all don't understand. Like, I was determined, and I was excited too. I was like I'm going to Thailand. This is gonna be great. I get to go to like my favorite food places again. I get to have like, I won't even go any further, but I just realized it wasn't happening. But I knew I wanted to leave the United States. That at the core was my goal. That is what I was working for. Even though the way I was doing it was through Thailand, the core goal was to leave the United States. And my goal was to leave the US and live outside the United States for about a year. So that was my goal. And I pinpointed that through some self-reflection and talking to some friends. And I was like, you know what? Thailand's not happening, but I still want to make this happen. It got to a point where I would think about my future the next couple months, like past August, September, and I didn't see myself in the US anymore. Like I couldn't see myself like getting a new lease in an apartment in the US. I couldn't see myself finding a new job, because while contact tracing was a great opportunity that gave me a job during a time where there wasn't a lot of jobs, and I was really, there wasn't a lot of stability in the workforce at that time during COVID. Well, COVID's still going. It wasn't something I was passionate about. It's not something I woke up every day like, wow, I can't wait to call someone and let them know that they've been exposed to someone who is positive for COVID-19. Like, that's just not where my heart's at. Like I said earlier, my lease ended in the middle of August, so I knew I had to get out. So basically, I put on pause like the searching and figuring out where I'm gonna go, because at that point it was like I had pinpointed, I'm like, it's not at this point if I'm gonna go, it's where I'm gonna go and when. So I put it on hold, and I put all my stuff in storage, and it's in storage now, and I set it to be in storage for a year. So I had all my stuff in storage for a year. And then one of my coworkers at the time who was a big help. She helped me, and I was able to get somewhere to stay temporarily in Las Vegas until I was able to figure out where the heck I'm going. And then I also throughout this whole time, I was joining so many Facebook groups. I was joining Facebook groups that were talking about how to get into Thailand. I was joining Facebook groups about just Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, like so many places. And especially at that time, I was joining Facebook groups of Black people traveling, because I'm like, you don't see a lot of representation of Black people traveling. And I know in my family, I'm the only person in my immediate family with a passport. So it's also just like, there's not a lot of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but there's not a lot of representation. And at the end of the day, I found a bunch of different groups. One of them is called Black Sit, and there's a group of Black people. There's a group you join for Black people that want to leave Black Sit, exit the United States. And on the group, I made a post about, hey, I was wanting to go to Thailand, but now I'm kind of figuring out where I'm gonna go next. And I had some comments, and one of the ladies who's become a really great friend, She was very kind, and she sent me a couple other groups, ones I didn't even, places I didn't think of like Black people and like Black people in Mexico, Black people in Ecuador. So I joined a couple groups that she suggested, and during that time I was just looking at them, seeing the information. You know, on these groups people post pictures and like talk about like their housing. They post about like just life living in that country. So at the time, Mexico and Ecuador were both on my mind because I joined those groups. And the reason that I didn't pick Mexico, because those were like the two top of my head. I didn't pick Mexico, number one. I personally didn't think they were doing well with COVID-19, and that was one of the criteria I wanted in whatever country I went to. I wanted to be relatively low cost of living, and that they're doing pretty well with COVID-19. Mexico didn't fit that. And also, I had bought travel insurance, which, I mean, in hindsight, and it just wasn't covered in Mexico. So I was just like, okay, maybe not now. So I was looking into Ecuador, and I was like, okay, just browsing through the groups, doing some like slight searching about different things, nothing major. Once I was in temporary housing, I was like, okay, it was time to figure this out. I went and I made a list of all the countries that were accepting Americans that I was somewhat interested in. I was like, okay, I'm interested in doing research on this country. I made a list and wrote it down. One of those countries was Ecuador. And I don't know what it was, but my heart just kept tugging to Ecuador. And I think that I realized a lot of my decisions I had been making up to this point were about me listening to my gut, listening to my intuition that drove me to make this decision, to make this move. And I was listening to that voice inside me of, hey, get out, or hey, I like Ecuador, that I kind of use as a guide. I'm learning through this process how important it is to listen to that voice inside me and listen to my gut. So I don't know what it was, but I thought about it for a couple days, and I was like, okay, we're going with Ecuador. And I kind of just took it and I ran with it. As I already had my eye on it, I'd already like kind of talked to and like mingled with a couple of the people that like in the group. And I reached out to the group and said, hey, y'all, I'm thinking about coming here, have some questions. And one of the ladies that run the group, who has become a great friend as well, she was like, hey, message me. And I sent her question after question after question, and she answered all of them. And then got to the point where I think she realized I was serious. She was like, well, I can also help you find an apartment. So she was able to help me find an apartment. So I had an apartment secured before I got here. And once I had that, I really hit the ground running. I bought a plane ticket. I ordered whatever like supplies and stuff I need. Like I ordered new masks, all these different types of things so I can get packed and ready. And this was in a matter of a couple weeks, but I just got it all done. And once my ticket was bought, secured my apartment, I also quit my job. So I looked into it. I asked them before, and they said I could not work the job outside the United States, which is fine. But also throughout this whole time, I was saving and living well below my means, and being very strategic with my money. So I was able to save a good amount of money before I even left. So now that I'm here, I don't have to worry about work. I plan to look into like some freelancing, maybe teaching online, things like that. But I'm in a place where I don't have to rush, and I can kind of wait to find something I actually enjoy, or maybe something that will turn into my career. I don't know. We're not getting into all that. So so I bought my ticket, and mind you, I was scared because a big part of me was like COVID-19. Like I was scared to get sick. And you can ask any of my friends, I took this pandemic very seriously. I didn't see a lot of people during all of this, and the people I did, it was a lot. So this wasn't an easy decision for me, but I made it knowing that I'm going somewhere that's, number one, taking this virus more seriously, and also like where I am, like there's good healthcare. So in the chance I did get sick, I was like, I'm still in a place where I can figure it out and get through it. And like I said, my goal was to leave the US regardless. So yeah, I got my mask, my face shield, and I got on those planes. I'll have another video, not as an elaborate video, but just about the journey getting to Ecuador. But it was a lot, but I got here and I arrived in Ecuador on September 4th. And I'm really glad I did it. I won't say it was easy. This just, at the end of the day, I keep telling myself, just because the decision is the right, just because you're making the right decision, doesn't mean it's an easy decision. Like, this was hard. It was a lot. It was draining. It was exhausting. It was confusing. It was all these things plus more to make this decision and to make that leap almost. Like, I was taking a leap. I was taking a chance. But I look at it as I was investing in myself. And I think the quote, because I love quotes, that really sat with me the best was, you cannot heal in the same environment in which you got sick. And I'll say, to encompass everything, it got to a point where I was just sick, you know, like I had health problems, like different things that I was trying to get checked out when I was in the US, and I was going to doctor after doctor, not being heard, not being listened to. They're like, no, that's not your problem. I was scared to leave my house, not only because of COVID, but also because of like all this uprising, and like that also was a lot. And it's just like so many things. So I can't even say that my answer to why I wanted to leave the US is simple, because this is just something that has been in me since last year. But if anything, the last couple months of the uprising, COVID and everything like that almost just pushed me that much more to really put into action and execute. So yeah, I feel like I'm on a path where I'm excited about my future, and I'm excited to see where I go, how things turn out, and I don't know. I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about what I want. While I'm not this guru and I don't know the answer to everything, I don't even know completely about what all of my future holds, like 10, 20 years from now. I do know that I'm grateful that I had the courage to make this leap, and I'm grateful that I chose myself, because it's not hard leaving everything, you know. I left my family, I left a lot, but I told myself I'm 23, I don't have any kids, I'm not tied to any relationship or anyone, anything like that. And if anything, if I'm going to be make a selfish decision, I wouldn't even say a selfless decision like this, why not now? I mean, COVID-19 definitely didn't make it an easier decision, but I also didn't let it stop me, because I also realized that I'm going to be fearful of COVID-19 whether I'm in the US or here. So why make that a limitation? If my fear of this is not going to be dictated by where I'm at, then why make it a limitation for where I go? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I don't know how long this video is. It's probably a little bit long, but I hope it gives you guys some insight. Like I said, there's no straight answer as to why I left the US. I will do a video on why I'm glad, of what things I'm glad I found in Ecuador, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't living, and even though it may not have looked like it, or even to my family, some of them probably don't realize the extent of it, and I don't even think I realized, I'm still realizing the extent of it now, how much I felt suffocated, how much I didn't feel seen or heard, how much I just felt stifled. And yeah, so I'm gonna end the video on saying that I'm pretty sure that I made a decision that's gonna change my life forever, and I'm so excited to see what comes of it. And yeah, so if you have any questions about anything else or specific parts of the story that I told or anything like that, please drop them below in the comment section. I appreciate all of you, and I'm excited to see where life takes me, and it's gonna be a beautiful ride. Whether it's good or bad, or whether it has challenges, there's always gonna be challenges. I just know it's gonna be a beautiful ride, and let's go. I hope y'all ready too. So thank you for watching this. Subscribe if you can. Like this video if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.